Hi, I'm Nyla. I didn't expect to see Marcus Briggs in my office today, not after everything that happened. Yet here he was, sitting across from me, fidgeting with his expensive watch, the same one he'd bragged about buying the night of our law school graduation party. Nyla, I wouldn't be here if I had any other option, Marcus said, his voice lacking its usual swagger. I leaned back in my chair, taking in the moment. 6 years without a word? And now you need a favor? Interesting timing. It's not just a favor. I need your expertise. You're the best white-collar defense attorney in the city. Flattery? That's new coming from you. I picked up a pen and twirled it between my fingers. Last I remember, you were telling everyone how I was wasting my potential by specializing in financial law. Marcus's face flushed. Look, people change. Opinions change. Opinions change when you're facing federal charges, apparently. The door opened and my assistant Zara poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, Miss Chen. Your 4 o'clock called to reschedule. Thanks, Zara. Could you bring in some water for Mr. Briggs? He seems tense. After Zara left, Marcus leaned forward. It's not just me, Nyla. It's the whole firm. Velocity Capital. We're being investigated for securities fraud. The same firm that refused to hire me because financial law was too boring for someone with my background? That Velocity Capital? Things were different then. Peterson had different hiring criteria. You mean Peterson didn't want women of color handling the big accounts? I set down my pen. You stood there and laughed, Marcus. You and Davidson both. Davidson is actually the one who suggested I come to you. I raised an eyebrow. Davidson Pierce? The same man who said I should stick to immigration law because it would be more relatable? Marcus had the decency to look ashamed. We were young and stupid. No, you were privileged and arrogant. There's a difference. The door opened again as Zara returned with water. Marcus gulped it down like a man who'd been in the desert. How bad is it? I asked after Zara left. Bad enough that 3 other firms turned us down. The SEC is claiming we misrepresented investment returns to clients. 20 million in questionable transactions. And Davidson? Where is he in all this? He's the one under the most scrutiny. He was managing the accounts in question. I couldn't help but smile slightly. So, Davidson Pierce, who once claimed I didn't have the analytical skills for complex financial cases, needs me to save him from prison? We all do, Marcus admitted. Peterson, Davidson, me, even Tanner. Tanner Jefferson is involved too? The same man who accidentally spilled coffee on my notes before the ethics final? Marcus sighed. Look, Nyla, I know we were terrible to you, but this is my career on the line. I have a family now. How convenient that you're suddenly remembering our history now that you need something. I opened my laptop. I'm having dinner with Claire tonight. Should be interesting to get her perspective on all this. Marcus's eyes widened. Claire Thompson? You still talk to her? She's the assistant DA handling financial crimes now. We have a standing monthly dinner. His face paled. Nyla, please. We're desperate here. So was I when I needed letters of recommendation and you all mysteriously forgot to submit them. I closed my laptop. I'll tell you what. I'll think about it. Come back tomorrow. Bring Davidson and Peterson. Let's see how badly they want my help now. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text from Claire. Got the Velocity Capital file today? You're not going to believe what I found. Dinner at 7? I looked up at Marcus with a smile. Actually, I think I might have some reading to do tonight. I always knew they were shady, but this is something else, Claire said, sliding a folder across the table in the quiet corner of Giovanni's. Though technically she shouldn't be sharing case details, our friendship had always operated in gray areas. Tell me what I'm looking at, I said, opening the folder while taking a sip of Cabernet. Financial disclosures from the last 3 years? See those highlighted transactions? Claire pointed with her fork. They were creating fake returns showing clients 12% growth when they were actually losing money. And Davidson authorized these? His signature is on everything. Peterson claims ignorance, but there are emails suggesting otherwise. I scanned the documents. What about Marcus and Tanner? Marcus handled client relations. He's the one who sold the fake numbers. Tanner created the falsified performance reports. I set down my glass. So they were all in on it. Up to their eyeballs, Claire confirmed. The only reason we haven't made arrests yet is because we're building a stronger case. Who tipped you off? I asked. That's the interesting part. Claire leaned forward. Their office manager, Eliza Martinez. Apparently, she overheard Davidson and Peterson laughing about creative accounting and started documenting everything. Eliza? She was 2 years behind us in school. She said you were the only one who helped her prepare for her legal assistant certification while everyone else treated her like she was invisible. I smiled, remembering the young woman who had approached me in the library. Small world. Claire's expression turned serious. Nyla, why did Marcus come to see you today? Please tell me you're not considering representing them. Of course I am, I replied, taking another sip of wine. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm dead serious. They're coming to my office tomorrow. All of them. Claire studied my face. You've got that look. What are you planning? Nothing illegal, if that's what you're worried about. But something that walks the line of ethical? I shrugged. I'm just going to let them talk. A lot. And possibly record everything for my personal notes. That recording would never be admissible in court, Claire cautioned. No, but it might help refresh my memory if I'm ever asked to provide a witness statement. I raised my eyebrows meaningfully. Claire sat back. Nyla Chen, you are terrifying sometimes. The next morning, my conference room filled with the men who had once made my life miserable. Peterson, now silver-haired but still intimidating, sat at one end. Davidson, sweating through his expensive shirt, couldn't meet my eyes. Tanner kept checking his phone nervously, while Marcus looked like he hadn't slept. Gentlemen, I began, before we discuss representation, I need to understand exactly what happened. Is that really necessary? Peterson asked, his deep voice carrying the same dismissive tone I remembered. We need strategy, not a rehash. My strategy depends on knowing all the facts, I replied calmly. Unless you'd prefer to try your luck with another firm? We've tried, Davidson said, shooting Peterson a look. No one else will touch this case. Then you'll answer my questions, I said, pressing the record button on my phone. For my notes, of course. For the next hour, I let them talk, contradict each other, and gradually implicate themselves further. The more they spoke, the more their carefully crafted story fell apart. What about Eliza Martinez? I asked innocently. Will she corroborate this version of events? The four men exchanged glances. Eliza? Tanner finally said. She's just an office manager. She doesn't know anything about the investment side. Really? Because she seemed quite knowledgeable when I had coffee with her this morning. Davidson's face went pale. You spoke to Eliza? Of course. Due diligence. I smiled. She had quite a different story to tell. Whatever she said is a lie, Peterson snapped. Is it? Because she has documentation. Lots of it. The room fell silent. So, gentlemen, I said, leaning forward. Would you like to try again? This time with the truth? The mood in the conference room had shifted dramatically. Four men who had once held their heads high now looked like scolded children caught in an elaborate lie. You set us up, Marcus accused, his voice cracking with anger. No, Marcus, you set yourselves up the moment you decided to defraud your clients. I kept my voice even, professional. I simply gave you the opportunity to be honest with your potential counsel. Davidson jumped to his feet. This is entrapment. Entrapment is a legal defense against government actors, not private attorneys conducting initial client interviews, I corrected. Perhaps you should have paid more attention in criminal law instead of copying my notes. You recorded us without consent, Peterson growled. New York is a one-party consent state for recordings, as you well know. And those recordings are for my personal notes only. I tilted my head. Unless, of course, you're admitting there's something incriminating in what you've said? Tanner, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. What do you want, Nyla? Money? A public apology? Just name it. You think this is about petty revenge? I laughed, the sound sharp in the tense room. This is about justice. For your clients, for Eliza, and yes, for me too. We can make this right, Marcus pleaded. We'll give back the money, restructure the firm. You'll give back the money regardless, I interrupted. That's not negotiable. Nyla, Davidson tried, his voice softening to the charming tone I once watched him use to win over professors. We were wrong about you. I was wrong. You've proven yourself to be an exceptional attorney. We could use someone like you as a partner after all this blows over. I stared at him in disbelief. Are you seriously trying to offer me a partnership in a firm that's about to be indicted for securities fraud? As what? Hush money? It's not like that, Davidson insisted. I'm trying to make amends. You're trying to save yourself, I corrected. There's a difference. Peterson slammed his hand on the table. Enough of this charade. Will you represent us or not? I gathered my notes calmly. No, Mr. Peterson, I will not. But I will be consulting with the prosecution. You can't do that. It's a conflict of interest, Tanner exclaimed. Actually, I can. Since I never formally agreed to represent you, no attorney-client privilege was established. Everything you've said here today is fair game. Davidson's face twisted with rage. You planned this from the start. You vindictive. Choose your next words carefully, I warned. Witness intimidation is another charge the DA's office takes very seriously. You'll regret this, Davidson hissed, stepping toward me. I still have friends in this town. One call, and your precious reputation is ruined. Are you threatening me, Mr. Pierce? I asked, my phone still recording. Please clarify for my records. Marcus grabbed Davidson's arm. Stop it, you're making things worse. How could it possibly be worse? Davidson shouted, yanking his arm free. He pointed a finger in my face. You think you're untouchable now? I'll make sure you never work in this city again. I'll call every client you have. I stepped back, maintaining my composure. So that's a yes on the threats. Noted. Peterson finally stood. We're leaving, all of you now. Before you go, I said, the SEC will be serving warrants tomorrow morning. I suggest you don't destroy any documents in the meantime. That would be obstruction of justice. Davidson lunged at me, but Tanner and Marcus held him back. You set us up. You're dead, you hear me? Dead! And that, I said calmly as Zara opened the door, having heard the commotion, would be assault and a death threat. Would you like to add anything else to your growing list of charges? 6 months later, I watched from the gallery as Judge Martinez, no relation to Eliza, read out the sentences. Davidson Pierce, on the counts of securities fraud, wire fraud, and witness intimidation, this court sentences you to 8 years in federal prison. Davidson's shoulders slumped as the reality of his situation finally hit him. Marcus Briggs and Tanner Jefferson, on the counts of securities fraud and wire fraud, this court sentences you each to 5 years in federal prison. Both men stared straight ahead, their faces masks of resigned defeat. Richard Peterson, on the counts of securities fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy, this court sentences you to 7 years in federal prison. As the bailiffs led them away, Claire slid into the seat beside me. Congratulations, counselor, she said. Your testimony was the nail in their coffin. The evidence did most of the work, I replied. I just filled in the blanks. Don't be modest. Without you, we might never have gotten them to incriminate each other. Outside the courtroom, I was surprised to see Eliza waiting, now dressed in the sharp suit of someone who had moved up in the world. Miss Chen, she said, extending her hand. I wanted to thank you personally. For what? You're the whistleblower who made this possible? For believing me when no one else would, she smiled. And for recommending me for the compliance officer position at Meridian Investments. You earned that position, Eliza. I just made a phone call. As we walked toward the exit, a voice called out behind us. Nyla, wait, please. I turned to see Marcus being allowed a brief moment with his family before transport. His wife held their young son's hand, tears streaming down her face. Can I talk to you? Just for a minute? He pleaded. I hesitated, then nodded to the guard to allow it. I know I have no right to ask anything of you, Marcus said, his voice low. But my family, they'll have nothing while I'm gone. You should have thought about that before you defrauded people out of their life savings, I replied. I know. He looked down, then back up with desperate eyes. I'm not asking for myself. I'm asking for them. Could you help Sarah find a job at least? She has a finance degree but hasn't worked since Tommy was born. I studied his face. You're still trying to manipulate me, even now. No, I swear. Save it. I cut him off. Your wife already reached out to me last month. She's starting at my firm next week in the accounting department. His mouth fell open. What? Unlike you, Marcus, she actually apologized for how you all treated me. She was sincere and she needs the job. Thank you, he whispered. I don't deserve. No, you don't, I agreed. And let's be clear, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because your son shouldn't suffer for his father's crimes. I really am sorry, Nyla, for everything. Maybe someday. There is no someday, Marcus. No redemption arc. No forgiveness. You made your choices. Now live with them. The guard tapped his shoulder. Time's up. As they led him away, Claire rejoined me. That was generous of you, hiring his wife. It was the right thing to do, I said. Besides, she's actually qualified, unlike half the people they hired at Velocity. Later that evening, Zara, Claire, Eliza, and I sat at my dining table, sharing a bottle of champagne. To justice, Claire toasted. And to unexpected alliances, Eliza added. And to the new financial crimes division at Chen Legal Group, Zara chimed in. I raised my glass. I have a better toast. To all the people who laughed when we said we'd make it, may they have excellent legal representation when they need it most. The laughter around my table felt like closure, not because I'd gotten revenge, though the satisfaction was undeniable, but because I'd stayed true to my principles while they'd abandoned theirs. What's next for you, Nyla? Claire asked. After taking down the mighty Velocity Capital, everything else must seem boring. I smiled, thinking about the file on my desk, another case of powerful men who thought they were above the law. Oh, I don't know about that, I said. I think I'm just getting started. What would you do if someone who once mocked your dreams suddenly needed your help? Would you extend a hand or serve justice instead?